let's talk about the books that I've read in the last month or so. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rose and this is Flower Reads a Lot. Now today, we're gonna kind of do a monthly wrap up, but really I'm gonna kind of maybe scoot some things in that were from May, scoot some things in that I read in the first couple days of July, because I just wanna talk about these books already. Some of these books as well, I have already talked about, but I'm gonna talk about it again. Okay, I think I'm gonna start with my least favorite to most favorite. Now, I enjoyed, for the most part, all the books that I've read in the last month and a half that I'm gonna talk about, but there were some that were just like meh or just not really memorable. So yeah, let's start with a disappointing one, and that one is going to be Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak, or Rekulak. I don't know. On his Instagram, he has the way to say it. I just don't remember, and I'm so sorry to you, Jason. But this book was a little bit disappointing to me. I liked it. I think I rated it like a 3, but it just, okay. This is about our main character who, I don't even remember her name. That's how unmemorable it was. Mallory. Mallory takes a job babysitting this 5-year-old kid named Teddy in this rich suburbs, and Teddy has an imaginary friend named Anya, and he draws these super creepy pictures that include Anya, and Anya is a scary looking. And this book did go where I wanted it to go, but there just wasn't enough. I feel like, it sounds bad to say, but there wasn't enough like violence. That sounds so bad, okay, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, it just felt like it was wrapped up too well with the little pretty bow at the end, and I don't know, the middle kind of got a little repetitive, and it just not my favorite, but I didn't hate it though. This next book is probably my most disappointing. I know before I've talked about The Shuddering by Anya Alborn as being my most disappointing, but I think this takes the cake because I will go hard for Riley Sager, okay? I love his books. I love the chaoticness. This just wasn't it, okay? The only one left. Now, I liked it. I did not love it though, okay? I think this was really well done, but it was a little boring. Ooh, that sounds so bad, because I feel like Riley Sager's books, if it's one thing, they're not boring. Even if you don't like the twists, you don't like whatever, they're never boring, but I was bored. And I feel like the comparison to Lock Every Door is fair, and it checks out because that was actually my least favorite one that I read so far. And this is kind of along those lines. I think I liked the twists, but I don't know. Again, the middle just felt very repetitive. But anyways, what is this book even about? This takes place in the 1980s. It follows Kit McDeer, who just came off of a 6-month suspension. I think she is a caretaker, and she gets a call, and the boss is like, hey, you can go to this house and go take care of them. And she's like, I don't want to. And he's like, no, you have to. And it is for Lenora. What was her last name? Lenora Hope. Oh my gosh, why did I not get that? It's for Lenora Hope. It is called Hope's End. That is what the manor is called. And Lenora Hope has a little bit of a Lizzie Borden backstory where her entire family was dead and she is the only one left. So Kit has to go take care of her in her old age. She had a stroke and now can't talk, can't move except for her left hand. And yeah, it follows all of that. Did Lenora really kill her family? Is she being framed? What's going on? So Kit is kind of trying to figure all of that out, and yeah, I don't know. Recommend it though. Okay, I think honestly after that, I really enjoyed the rest of the books that I read. So the rest of the books that I have are 4 or 5 stars. So yeah, no particular order now. At the end of May, I read The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I loved this book. I ate it up. Okay, I've already talked about this, I think in either favorites video, I don't really know, but I did already talk about this, so I won't go on too much, but it's very much like a YA Criminal Minds, very, very YA, so if you don't like that, don't read this, but I ate this up. This follows Cassie, and she's kind of recruited by the FBI because she's a natural, and basically these naturals are a bunch of teenage kids that they put in one house that have these natural abilities to either profile people, detect when people are lying, know all these statistics, all of that, and I love it. I actually have already started the second book called Killer Instinct. This is a part of, I think it's a 5-book series. I don't know, but I'm gonna eat them all up. Next YA book that I've already talked about that I read at the beginning of June, it is Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Shirley. I don't know how to say her name, but this book is so cute. It is a gay romance following Dylan and Theo and fake dating. I love it. And the third act breakup is not really that intense, so if you don't like that third act conflict like I don't, because that's why I hate contemporary romance, I think you're gonna like this. It's very cutesy, very fluffy, no spice at all. Like, I think they barely kiss, but it is just so cute. The next book that I just loved so much, and I talked about it in a TBR, and I actually read it, so thank you. It is Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark. Perfection, okay, perfection. It is marketed as dark fantasy, which, yeah, there are fantastical elements to this, but it's really like horror. There's gore in this. It's kind of gross. I love it though. It's super short too, so a very, very quick read. Also the audiobook, halfway through I picked up the audiobook from Libby, and the reader for that, chef's kiss amazing, okay? What a great experience. This takes place in 1915 or 1920s, I believe, and it takes place in the South during a time where the KKK is running rampant, doing awful things, as we know, and there are the Ku Kluxes who are, they are the KKK, but they're like turned into monsters, and they're disgusting, and they eat people and eat dead things, and yeah, and Maurice, who is our main character, and her fellow resistance fighters are hunting down the Ku Kluxes, but then there's like this whole little other journey that's going on to fight them. Oh, it's so good. Okay, just read this. My next few reads are actually manga / manhwa, and I finally was like catching up on my manga. Well, not all of it, but you know, getting there, right? So Killing Stalking 3 just was published physically in the US. Yes. I will probably read the rest of it online because I think the other physical copies don't come out for a while, and I just have to know. The entire series kind of talks about being abused as a kid or as a teen, Stockholm Syndrome, being kidnapped, what it feels like to kill. It's very, I don't want to say I enjoy it. I mean, I technically do, but you know, if it's not for you, it's not for you, but it is for me, and you should read it, only if you think it's for you. Some more manga that I really enjoyed this month, well, by this month, I mean that I did read these at the beginning of July, so yeah. Like I said, this is more like a recent reads wrap-up. It's not really a June wrap-up because I haven't done a wrap-up on my channel, so I just feel like I need to talk about everything. I finally, wait, this was on my TBR, and I did actually read it. I read the first 2 volumes of Berserk. Now this is very violent. I was like, because it does have a parental advisory on there. It's very violent, but I didn't feel like it was off-putting at all. I mean, obviously this is not for children. This follows Guts, who is on the cover there, and he is the Black Swordsman, and I don't really know a lot about him right now, but he's out to kill this like mayor. Is he the mayor? I don't really know everything yet, but he's out to kill this guy who's actually kind of a demon, and Yeah, and there's this cute little elf that just like flies around. I think he's an elf or a fairy. He looks like a fairy, but he's cute. His name is Puck, and he's just flying around trying to be like, hey, Guts, I want to help you. And Guts is like, no. And Puck is like, okay, well, I'm gonna come anyways. So yeah, I love him. And then the next manga, I think is the last manga that I've read this month. It is Yona of the Dawn, volumes 1 and 2. Now, I kind of talked about this, I think, in the mid-year book out, in the mid-year book freakout tag, and I loved these first 2 volumes. I thought they were so cute. I'm waiting on my hold for volume 3, so hopefully I'll read that because I'm trying so hard not to buy books, trying not to buy manga. So just wish me luck on that journey. Anyways, this follows Yona, and I feel like anything I say is gonna be a spoiler. She is a princess, and that's all I'm gonna say. I think it's like an adventure book slash kind of romance. There's probably gonna be some romance that's blossoming in there, but right now it's more just adventure. Okay, off of manga, manhwa, let's get to Playground by Aron Beauregard. Now, of course, I have already talked about this book. I talked about it in my favorites video, I'm pretty sure. I did love this book. I rated it 4.5. I thought that it sounds so bad when I talk about it. I always feel like kind of uncomfortable talking about it, especially like my profession. But anyways, let's just take that out of it. This is a piece of fiction. It is extreme horror, so if you don't like that, don't read this, definitely. It is kind of like Squid Game slash Saw, but for kids. Like, this book is not for kids, but the characters are children. Yeah. The only thing is the first like 75, 80 pages is about the incestuous Geraldine, who is our main character, who kind of puts together this playground with the help of her Nazi friend. Yeah, it is just disgusting at the beginning, and then once you get past that, it's like, oh, these games are kind of fun in like a murderous way. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about that now, but yeah, if you like extreme horror, I highly recommend it. I thought it was a great book. I like the ending especially. I think the kind of redemption of one character, and then the way that these kids are tested and their family dynamics, I think it was just really well done. Okay, now, before I talk about my top favorite reads of the month and a half-ish, I want to talk about how I finally read some nonfiction. I read 3 pieces of nonfiction. 2 of them were in graphic novel form, but still, I did it. I met my goal. I will read more nonfiction this year, I'm hoping, but I finally did it, so I'm proud of myself. So the first piece of nonfiction I read is called Welcome to St. Hell, My Trans Teen Misadventure by Lewis Hancox. This is a YA graphic novel memoir. It is about our author, Lewis, who grew up as being Lois. So he talked about his journey of kind of figuring himself out and realizing, okay, I'm not a girl, but everybody wants me to be a girl, so I guess I have to try to be a girl, but I can't. And that struggle of, okay, I like boys, I have to like boys. And then realizing, okay, no, I don't. And finally figuring out, okay, this is who I am, I want to transition, and finding the help that he needed and the support from his mom, dad, friends, and then also like losing friendship, then gaining it again. I don't know, it was so great, I loved it. Even when there were moments of, talking about when he was bullied or made fun of, I appreciated the graphic novel format because it didn't make light of those situations, but I felt like it made it easier to consume, and I didn't feel so much dread, because I knew that, okay, things ended up really well. And he does admit to his privileges that he had of, people accepting him for who he was almost immediately. Obviously not everybody did, but having such a great support system whenever there's a lot of people that don't. So I really loved it. The next kind of memoir that I read was March, book 1 by John Lewis. This is the graphic novel about John Lewis growing up in the South and starting to become this activist, meeting Martin Luther King Jr. and discovering, okay, these sit-ins, what do I need to do at the sit-ins, meeting all these different activists in their early lives and becoming a part of something bigger. And I really loved this. I loved it. It was very sad and heartbreaking, especially seeing, you know, even though they're not real pictures, but drawings of everything going on and the commentary. And it's hard to read, but I think it's important. And it's easy because it's in graphic novel form. And then the last memoir that I read was In the Dream House by Carmen Machado. This was so good and so heartbreaking. Oh my gosh. So this was her journey of going through her first lesbian relationship and it being abusive, and her not realizing like this is wrong because her partner told her, no, this is what they're like. This is what same-sex relationships are like. You just don't know. And then she realizes, okay, actually this is wrong. I don't appreciate the way that you treat me. And then her also remembering and reflecting on past trauma and abuse as well. So I really loved this. It was hard to get through. I appreciated the way that she kind of used different movie, book tropes and different things like that we see in media to kind of compare this dream house to. And it was very interesting because most of this book is in second person, so it's like you see her do this, you feel this, you see that, like it makes it feel more personal. Now that we've gone through all of my nonfiction reads for the month, let's get to my top tier favorite books that I have read recently. Please. Okay, I don't think these are gonna be in any particular order, but they might end up being subconsciously. So yeah, let's talk about Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This is just brilliant, genius, amazing, fantastic, flawless, never been done before. I love it, okay? This follows June, who is a white author that was spending time with her Asian author friend, Athena, and Athena just dies, and I won't tell you how she dies, but it's not June's fault. Anyways, June was like, oh, I see this manuscript on the desk, let me steal it, and basically sends off and publishes this book that's not really hers, it's Athena's that wrote it. And June is kind of trying to pass herself off as this racially ambiguous author. She's now going by June Song, even though Song is her middle name, but it sounds, you know, more Asian or more ambiguous than her last name, Hayward. And this book kind of talks about a lot about the publishing industry, what they're looking for, what they're not looking for, the things that they'll take, even if, you know, it's not the best, you know what I mean? And it kind of goes through like some blackmail that's going on and June's inner struggles with what she did, and then her going through like writer's block, like, am I a good writer? Am I not a good writer? Can I write anything else? It's just so good, okay? Read this if you haven't already. The next book that I just loved so much, it was heartbreaking, amazing, flawless, fantastic. It is Pretty Girls by Karin Slaughter. You guys know I read this because of Haley Hughes. It is, read it, okay? If you like thrillers, if you like horror, if you like family dynamics, family structures in books, if you just, if you're watching this, read this book. It is very, very, very dark though, so please watch out. I would say this is darker than a lot of the thrillers that I've read before. So this follows our two sisters. One is a little trophy wife, you know, living her life. The other is a recovering addict who lives, you know, quieter life with her daughter, her boyfriend. A while ago, these two sisters' other sister actually went missing, and they've kind of been estranged since. And somebody's death brings them together. They start uncovering things about their sister's disappearance, about some connections that might be with this certain death that has happened, and it's so good, and I think you should read it. And I didn't do it really any justice by explaining it, but 5 stars. The next book that I made this a priority to read at the beginning of June is Them by Mique Watson. This book was intense, okay? It is extreme horror, so if you don't like extreme horror, don't read this book. But if you do, read this book because it is so good. It is about this girl, I think her name is Jeanette. I read it at the beginning of the month, so I'm like, oh. Yes, Jeanette. So Jeanette is watching a movie, and all of a sudden there's an emergency broadcast that comes on, and it's like, lock all your doors, don't trust anybody, they look like people. And she's like, what's going on? And that's when all hell breaks loose, all chaos is going on outside. It's scary, actually. Like, it's scary, it's creepy, it's gross. Oh, it's so gross, oh my gosh. Anyways, this book, not only does it give me like The Last of Us vibes, because you know at the beginning of The Last of Us, how yes, there is that infection going on, but then the people that are just not infected are kind of crazy as well. Like, it talks about how these doppelganger monsters are just ravenous and disgusting, right? But then kind of talks about humanity as well being just as bad. So I don't know, I love it so much. There was a scene. There was some baby paste, that's all I'll say. Okay. Oh, and I will always be haunted by all the orbital juices that go on in this book. Anyways, love it, 5 stars. Okay, another extreme horror that I actually just finished yesterday. For the Sake of Two by Judith Sonnet. I thought that I had read the most disturbing book ever. And honestly, this was probably the most disturbing book for me ever. It was, this was a ride. This was a ride. If you know about For the Sake of One, it follows kind of like this little game. It's kind of like Squid Games-ish, also Saw-ish. It's basically this guy that runs this dark web website. His name is Daddy, and he makes people torture themselves and torture other people and do nasty things for the sake of their loved one. And then this book kind of picks up where that one left off, if you know, you know, and follows someone that is worse, way worse. And the game that is in this, yeah. I mean, it's 5 stars for me, but I just feel like I needed to bathe in bleach, probably gouge my eyes out, go to church, probably burn. I don't know. This book, yeah. Now, this next book I am obsessed with, and I'm so sad that the second book is not out yet. It is The Sunbury Trials by Aydin Thomas. This book is great, okay? Amazing, fantastic. I'm gonna say that about all the books that I read, actually, so if you don't like that, I'm so sorry. Anyways, this book is amazing and beautiful, and I loved it so much. It is YA fantasy. It's very much like The Hunger Games, but make it more fantasy with gods, and it's just so good. This is set in a world where there are the gold gods and the jade gods, and there were the obsidians, but Sol, who is like the most powerful god really, stopped the obsidians from all of their just ravenous things and sacrificed themselves to become the sun, and the obsidians were just banished, basically, like they couldn't come out. I don't really know how that worked. They have to have the Sunbearer trials every 10 years, I believe, to relight or revive. I don't really know. Did I even read this book? Anyways, the sunstones, or whatever they are, the soul stones of each of the temples, and the loser of the Sunbearer trials is sacrificed. So normally it's the gold semigods that are chosen to be in the Sunbearer trials at all. But no, our main character Theo, who is a jade semigod, he is chosen, which is just unheard of. And then the other golds, of course. And they're competing, and the friendship in this, the betrayal in this, it is so good. The trials are really good. I loved this so much. The only thing that I didn't care for at the beginning was it felt like it was a little bit too flowery or too descriptive. I felt like they were describing everything that was going on, and I was like, please, no, I don't care. I don't care if this pillar is gold or what the floor feels like. Just give me the action, okay? But So good. There is a lot of LGBT rep in this book. Our main character is trans, and it talks about how he had to bind, even though he's had top surgery, he would bind his wings because they would be too feminine. But then there's a whole scene about him becoming who he truly is and accepting himself, and it's so great. There's a conversation with another person in this book that is also trans and their journey as well, and it's great. And now to my last book that I have already talked about in my mid-year freakout tab video. I always forget the name of that. Anyways, I've already talked about this book, but could I ever stop talking about this book? No, and nobody should ever stop talking about it because it's great. It is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros.
Great, fantastic, amazing, flawless, never been done before. Throwing up.
Okay. I love this book. I really wanted to be a hater so bad. I just wanted to be a hater and be the one that didn't like this book. But it's impossible, okay? If you don't like this book, you're a hater. This follows Violet Sorrengail, who is forced to go try to become a dragon rider by her mom, even though she grew up studying to be a scribe. So she's going through all these trials and obstacles to try to be a dragon rider in this military/war academy. And it's so good. It's so good. I love it so much. If you like dragons, if you like friendship, if you like hot, steamy romance, if you like enemies to lovers, which I wouldn't say this is full enemies to lovers. If you know, you know why. Read this book. It is so good. And I think everybody should read it and love it. Thank you. Okay, that is enough for my wrap up. I thought I'd throw a little teeny tiny TBR in here just because I want to. So I'm going to talk about just a little bit of the books that I really want to read, and I am going to make a priority because I have a few other books that I would want to put on my TBR, and they are, but I've already talked about them, and I feel like I'm jinxing myself by talking about them too much.
Dragon Republic, I'm looking at you.
Anyways, here are some of the books that I am going to make a priority at the beginning of this month. The first book is, and I've already started it, it is Dead Inside by Chandler Morrison. My coworker actually just finished this book and had some thoughts on it. I'm very excited. I've already read the first 20-30 pages of it. It's very short and small. And it is interesting. I'm interested to see how the voice comes off because it is in first person, and I want to see if it feels like it's coming from the actual author or it's from this character. How you can tell an author's true feelings are coming out. You know what I mean? I hope you do. Anyways, this is going to be featured in something that I will not tell you yet, but stay tuned. The next book that I have to read, because my friend Lauren from the podcast, she just finished this book and she loved it, except for maybe the ending, but I'll see. It is Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. And Ami, who watches our podcast, and I follow her on Instagram, she's great. Go follow her, I'll link her below. She also has a channel. She was like, you guys need to do this on your podcast. So hopefully all three of us will read this book so that we can feature it on our podcast, or just a little Carissa Broadbent episode. So we'll see. But I just really want to read this, especially after Lauren telling me everything that happens in here. I mean, she did tell me spoilers, which I wanted, and I feel like it makes me want to read it more. From what I know and remember Lauren telling me is that this follows a human girl, actually, but she's in another world or something. I don't know. She was adopted by a vampire king lord, and she has to go through these trials, I think, to become powerful. I don't know, but it sounds good. And people were saying it's super steamy, but I've heard otherwise. So I will see for myself, I guess. The next book that is on my TBR that I am actually currently reading, so I'm just talking about it so that I can finish it, hopefully. It is Children of Fallen Gods by Carissa Broadbent. This is the second book in the War of Lost Hearts, Volume 2. It's the second book to Daughter of No Worlds. Anyways, it is so good so far. I am loving the third POV in this, because the first book was really just Tasana and then a little bit of Max at the end. But this third POV, I kind of feel like she's my favorite character. We'll see how it goes. I don't really know where the plot is going, but I like it. And then this book I don't think I've talked about on this channel. I don't think I have, but I just want to be done with this. I want it to be out of my life already, okay? And it is the last 2 volumes of Death Note. I do have all the black editions. Can you see those? And so this has 2 volumes in one, and this is the last one that I have to read, and I just want to be done with Death Note already. I loved it. It started out great and strong, and then I feel like it's kind of just like going down, like plateauing as well. It's just not what it started to be. So I'm hoping that it ends strong. I think I know the final ending already, but we'll see. I just hope to be done with this by the end of the month. And the last book that is especially on my TBR is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I've already talked about this being on my summer TBR, but thank goodness this was picked for my book club, a very risky book club, and this won the poll, and I'm so excited that I will have an excuse to read it, but also read it with other people so that it motivates me and we can talk about it, and yeah, so I'm so excited. All right, guys, I think that is everything that I have to say today about my wrap-up and TBR, and yes, how was your reading month? Did you have any 5 stars? Do you have any duds? How did it go? What is your TBR? Yeah, okay. Love you so much. Stay back.